Many of the stories in Racing to English come with a sequencing activity. So pop over to my table and I'll show you one. When you print them out, the sequencing activities look like this. So the easiest thing to do is just to give these to the children and ask them to cut them into strips so that you end up with something like this. And then of course they work in pairs to sort the sequence out. The first one's easy, of course. It's the title. Here we are. Jealous of a Key by Rashida. So we can put that at the top. Oh, this looks like the next one, doesn't it? When I was a little girl, about 3 years old, and so on. So the children sort out the slips to get the correct story, supporting each other as they go. When I used to be teaching these stories, I used to use these sequencing activities at the end of the lesson. I wish now I'd used them at the beginning, because all sorts of things would have come out of that. Now the first thing is, I would have put them in pairs, and often I did it individually. That, not half as good. Right, so the first thing that would come out for me would that I'd be able to assess where the pupils were and what particular difficulties they'd got. And the second thing is, they would do the same thing. They would realise what the problems were in the text. They would realise they didn't understand it at all, or they didn't understand those words. And therefore they would be looking out for those words and for trying to understand those words when I actually came to the teaching part of the lesson. So that would have been a really great introduction. Of course, if you're doing pairs work, some pairs are going to finish long before others. Well, that's the point at which I wish I had taken those pairs and got them to work with the slower pairs. And not showing them, but actually getting them to read it, talking about what the difficulties are, actually teaching them. So I would want to teach the fast pupils how to teach some of the slower pupils so that we can get more and more interaction between pupils in the lesson. So just to summarise, by splitting the story into these strips, we're actually making it more difficult for the pupils to read. But that means they've got to work much harder at it. It means they can work in pairs so you can get peer support. And of course it becomes game-like. So you're actually wanting to solve a puzzle. And we all love puzzles. If we use it first in the lesson, it's good to help us assess the pupils' problems and the pupils' difficulties. And it alerts them to the things they need to learn. And it has a little bit of fun in it. So, all in all, sequencing, great idea. Try it. Just one final thought. If you find the students are finding the sequencing activity too easy, one way to make it a little bit more difficult is to give them 2 stories to sort out. And of course this could be one that you taught 2 or 3 weeks ago, so it's a good piece of revision.